Level 1. Intern. You are 22 years old. You arrive before the building fully wakes up. The badge they give you does not open every door. It opens just enough. You learn quickly which hallways are for people like you, and which ones are not. You are not here to make decisions. You are here to observe patterns. Your day starts with classified briefings you are not allowed to fully read. Documents arrive with sections blacked out. Your job is to organize, tag, and route them. You see fragments, names, locations, dates. You do not see the whole picture. No one explains anything to you. That is intentional. You sit in a quiet office with other interns. No one speaks loudly. Conversations stop when someone walks by. You learn that silence is part of the job. At lunch, you eat quickly. Phones are not allowed in most areas. You check yours in a locker like it's contraband. The outside world feels distant, less relevant. You are paid, but not much. Enough to justify your presence, not enough to matter. You watch the analysts. They move with confidence you do not have yet. They speak in acronyms that sound like another language. When they hand you tasks, they do not look at you for long. You are temporary, replaceable. You begin to understand that information here is not shared. It is compartmentalized. Even the person sitting next to you might not know what you are working on. The first time you accidentally open a file you are not cleared for, your access is revoked for a day. No one yells, no one explains. Your supervisor just says, "Be more careful." That is how mistakes are handled here. Quietly, permanently remembered. You go home exhausted, not from work, but from holding your attention in place all day. You replay small interactions in your head. Did you say too much? Did you ask the wrong question? You start to speak less. By the end of your internship, you realize something has changed. You no longer expect answers. You no longer look for clarity. You have learned how to exist inside a system that only gives you pieces. And you have learned to be comfortable with that. Level 2. Junior Analyst. You are 26 years old. You are no longer observing. You are processing. Your clearance has expanded, but only in one direction. You now see full datasets, but only within your lane. Signals traffic, encrypted communications, fragments of conversations pulled from across the world. You sit in front of screens for most of the day. Streams of data scroll past in structured chaos. Your job is to identify patterns that do not belong. You are trained to notice absence as much as presence. You work in shifts. Nights are common. The world does not pause, so neither does your workload. At 2 a.m., the office feels different, quieter, more focused, less performative. You are given targets. Not people exactly, but digital shadows of them. Devices, IP addresses, communication clusters. You are told what matters. You are not told why. You begin to build instincts. A sudden drop in activity, a spike at the wrong hour, a message that uses slightly different phrasing than before. Small deviations become your entire focus. When you flag something, it moves upward. You do not see what happens next. Sometimes nothing. Sometimes a brief acknowledgement. Rarely, you hear that your work contributed to something larger. You are not given details. You earn a steady salary now, enough to live comfortably, but your life outside work has narrowed. You keep your job vague when people ask. You do not explain. Your friends notice you are harder to reach. You notice you have less to say. The pressure is different now. Not fear of doing something wrong, but fear of missing something important. You understand that failure here is not immediate. It is delayed. It reveals itself later, somewhere else. You start double-checking everything. You trust your instincts, but you verify them anyway. You no longer feel like an outsider. You feel like a component. You process information, pass it forward, and move to the next signal. Level 3. Senior Analyst. You are 32 years old. You no longer just process signals. You interpret them. The screens in front of you look the same as they did years ago, but what you see has changed. Patterns are no longer isolated. They connect. You can trace behavior across weeks, sometimes months, without needing to be told where to look. You are assigned Junior Analyst now. They bring you their findings, hesitant, unsure. You recognize the look. You used to have it. You do not reassure them. You refine their work. Your day is less about volume and more about judgment. You decide which signals matter and which ones are noise. That decision carries weight now. If you are wrong, something important disappears into the background. You attend briefings you were not invited to before. The conversations are tighter. Fewer words, more implication. People assume you understand context. Most of the time, you do. You begin to see the outcomes. Not directly, not completely, but enough. A flagged communication leads to increased monitoring. A pattern you identified results in a shift in priority. Sometimes, a name you've seen before disappears from your system entirely. No explanation follows. You stop asking. Your salary reflects your position. You are stable now. You have structure. Your life outside the building exists, but it feels secondary. Conversations with friends are surface level. You avoid specifics out of habit, not just necessity. You think in probabilities now. Nothing is certain. Everything is weighted. You measure risk in percentages, not emotions. When a junior analyst says, "I think this is important," you ask, "How confident are you?" Confidence becomes a language. You are trusted, but that trust is conditional. It is tied to your consistency. One mistake does not end your career, but it changes how people look at your work. You notice that senior staff speak less than you expected. They listen more. When they do speak, it is to redirect, not to explain. You begin to adopt the same approach. You are no longer trying to prove yourself. You are trying to avoid being wrong. That becomes your discipline. And slowly, without realizing it, you become someone others rely on to make quiet decisions that shape what gets seen and what gets ignored. Level 4, Operations Officer. You are 38 years old. You are no longer behind the screen. You are part of the system that acts on what the screens reveal. Your role has shifted from interpretation to execution. The intelligence you once analyzed now moves through you into real-world operations. You coordinate with units that do not sit in this building. Their names are rarely spoken directly. You manage processes, not people, at least on paper. In practice, your decisions influence both. Your day is structured around briefings and coordination. You receive intelligence summaries from analysts like the person you used to be. You evaluate their reliability, their urgency, their gaps. Then you decide what happens next. A request for further surveillance, a decision to escalate, a choice to hold back. Each action sets something in motion. You are not in the field, but you are connected to it. You hear updates in controlled language, status changes, movement confirmations, operational shifts. No one describes outcomes in detail. You learn to read between the lines. You work with other agencies now. Conversations are more political. Information is negotiated, not just shared. Everyone has priorities. Everyone withholds something. You do the same. Your authority has increased, but so has your distance from certainty. You are responsible for decisions based on incomplete information. That does not change at higher levels. It becomes standard. Your salary is substantial. Your lifestyle reflects stability, but your schedule does not. Calls come at any hour. You respond without hesitation. You are expected to. You notice a shift in yourself. You are less reactive, more controlled. You do not rush decisions, but you do not delay them either. You accept that hesitation can be as damaging as action. You no longer see data as abstract. You understand that behind every signal is a consequence. Not always visible, not always immediate, but real. You do not dwell on it. You focus on execution. You move information forward, initiate processes, and monitor outcomes from a distance you cannot cross. And you begin to understand that power here is not about knowing everything. It is about deciding what happens next with what little you know. Level 5, Division Chief. You are 46 years old. You no longer manage operations directly. You manage the people who manage them. Your office is quieter than the floors below. Fewer screens, more meetings. The work has shifted from action to alignment. Every morning begins with a briefing, but you are not being informed. You are being prepared. Multiple teams report to you. Analysts, operations officers, technical leads. Each brings a different version of reality. Your role is to decide which version becomes the official one. You listen carefully, not for what is said, but for what is emphasized. A slight hesitation, a repeated phrase, a detail that feels too polished. You have learned that information is shaped before it reaches you. You reshape it again before it moves higher. Your authority is clear, but it is not absolute. You operate within constraints set by people you rarely see. Policy, oversight, priorities that shift without explanation. You translate those constraints into direction. When a team asks for approval, you rarely say yes immediately. You ask for adjustments, not because the plan is wrong, but because it needs to fit into a larger structure you can only partially reveal. You are responsible for outcomes, but you are insulated from the details. If something fails, it traces back to your decision. If something succeeds, it moves past you. Your salary reflects your position. Your life is comfortable, structured, predictable on the surface, but your time is no longer your own. Even when you are home, you are not fully present. You think in terms of risk distribution, not how to eliminate risk. That is impossible. How to contain it. You notice that younger staff still look for clarity. You do not provide it, not because you are withholding, but because clarity does not exist at this level. You offer direction instead. You have become careful with your words. A single sentence from you can redirect weeks of work across multiple teams. You do not speak unless necessary. And when you do, you are aware that your words will be interpreted, repeated, and acted upon in ways you will not fully see. You are no longer close to the work. You are shaping the conditions around it. Level 6, Senior Executive. You are 54 years old. You are no longer inside the system. You are above it. Your days are not defined by tasks, but by decisions that affect entire structures. You meet with leadership from other agencies, departments, and branches of government. The conversations are abstract, strategic, and deliberately incomplete. No one in the room has the full picture. That is by design. You receive summaries, not raw data. Briefings are condensed, filtered, and framed before they reach you. You understand that each layer below you has already made choices about what you should see. You make decisions anyway. You allocate resources. You set priorities. You approve initiatives that will unfold over months or years. You rarely see the immediate effects of what you decide. Your authority is significant, but it is constrained by politics. Not public politics, institutional politics. Budgets, interagency relationships, oversight committees, unspoken agreements. You navigate these without acknowledgement. You speak carefully in every meeting. Every statement is measured. Every silence is intentional. You no longer think in terms of individual operations. You think in terms of systems. What needs to expand? What needs to contract? What needs to remain invisible? Your salary is no longer relevant to your sense of position. Stability is assumed. What occupies your mind is continuity. You are responsible for ensuring that the system persists beyond any single event, any single failure. You have become detached from outcomes, not because they do not matter, but because you cannot afford to react to each one. You focus on structure. You notice that you no longer remember the names of most people working under you, not out of indifference, but because the scale has changed. Individuals have become functions. You were once one of them. You understand the distance now. You are aware that your decisions carry consequences you will never directly witness. You accept that. You speak, others interpret, systems move, and the machine continues,